Hello and welcome to the Midrash portion of today's Reunion Roadmap. I'm Barry Phillips, an elder with B'nai Yosef of North America, and joining me today is also an elder, Frank Houtz from Kentucky. Frank, how are you today?
I am fine, Barry, and how are you?
I'm doing very, very well. Thank you. I want to jump right into a pressing question in light of recent weather events. Many of our friends are still dealing with issues in the aftermath of both Hurricanes Harvey and Irma, and what's not commonly reported being overlooked, I guess, because of the gravity of those storms, are wildfires that are consuming parts of the northwest and west coast. In addition to that, there are reported earthquake swarms taking place in such places as Idaho, a major earthquake in Mexico. So it would seem that the earth is reeling and rocking and experiencing a bit of turmoil and natural disasters or natural response, perhaps. Frank, I read something on a Facebook post the other day that kind of raised my eyebrows a little bit, and that is that someone was commenting. I can almost quote it. They were saying that since Jesus has come and removed the curse, then only we are only in the blessings now. So these storms cannot be the hand of God in their estimation. It can only be the work of the devil. And I thought that's just not sound thought, I don't think. So who's behind all this? Should we be looking to the heavens and rebuking the devil and seeing if we can't cast out a storm? Should we be asking for the Father's guard and protection during a time of judgment to remember mercy and judgment? What is the balance of understanding where whose hand is behind all this when we face such circumstances?
Oh my, you have asked a mouthful.
Yes, give you plenty to comment.
Well, one of the problems that we have as human beings is we look at everything from an egocentric position. We're always
Explain egocentric.
egocentric is I-centered. It's everything revolves around me, and therefore anything that's happening where I am is the worst thing in the world. A person can have, something like a hangnail or something and be walking around talking about how terrible it is, while everyone he's talking to thinks, wow, this is a beautiful day.
Right.
And so to him, it's horrible. And to everyone else who he comes in contact with is kind of going, oh my, what kind of complainer do we have here? But then we go a little bit further where our group is being attacked or something, where we, someone that we identify with very closely, and therefore we attack, that we think we're under attack because our group is under attack.
Mm-hmm.
I call this hemi-centric behavior because it's us-centered. It's like it's centered around your particular group, and so everything's bad if your group is being attacked. And then, of course, there's the idea of ethnocentric, which is where your nation is under attack, and therefore this means that everything is bad. We forget that Scripture, in and of itself, is not our nation at the center point. It's not us at the center point. It's not our group at the center point. It's God and his work with his people being the center focus of the Scriptures. And if we take every little bad thing that happens to us and we apply that to Scripture, or that we think that everything's got to be good for us, most likely we are being one of the centrics that I talked about. One of them are we're all focused on me and my group.
Right.
The Bible is not focused on me and my group, although we may include ourselves in some of the groups that it's focused on. We forget in Luke chapter 14 that Yeshua tells us that we need to count the cost. And now he was talking about being his disciple,
Okay.
counting the cost. Now, what cost is there if everything's going to be grand and everything's going to be perfect after that time? It's not counting the cost if we think that it's going to be great. And who would refuse to be a Christian or a follower of Yeshua if suddenly everything turned great? The truth of the matter is that as we exercise our body to increase our physical strength, there's something called exercising our soul,
okay,
or our spiritual being. And when we exercise our soul, what that means is that there's going to be trauma that's going to happen to us. And so that trauma is how we get stronger spiritually. It's how we get stronger and can take more emotional trauma, more things not going our way. You see, you know what they call a kid where everything goes his way?
mm-hmm.
They call him spoiled.
Yes, they do.
Okay, now, are we trying to raise a group of spoiled people, and do we think that that's what God is doing?
We're trying to.
Yeah. You know, I'll admit, I vote for that doctrine anytime I'm given the question. You know, if God asked me my opinion, I would vote for that doctrine. Yes, I would like everything to get right for me. But the problem is if everything gets right for me, I don't grow. If everything gets right for me, I can't minister to others where it's wrong for them, you know. So the whole theory here is not good if everything gets right for us.
Okay, so in those who are suffering in the aftermath of Hurricane Irma, there is included in that number people who are looting and plundering neighbors and stores, who are all, you know, they're without electricity or without water supply. And just down the street, perhaps, is someone who is a dedicated follower of the Messiah. Um, we have a fellow elder who's often a part of this Midrash portion, David Jones and his family. At least of my last phone call with them, we're still without power. And it's not as though when these things take place that only those who are sinners get hit. The righteous get hit along with them.
Mm-hmm.
Some would quote from Matthew 5:45, where Yeshua said, because he makes his sun rise on the wicked and on the good and sends rain on the righteous and on the unrighteous. Oftentimes, I think we may be misquoting that verse in that we're saying, you know, hardship comes on the righteous and the wicked alike. But is it not that he is willing to show favor on both?
Yes, he's giving blessings. Rain is a blessing, and in our society, it has become something that messed up my day. But especially if you're in a desert country where rain is very, very sparse. Now in Kentucky or in Florida now, rain seems like a burden to people,
Mm-hmm.
messes up their day. But it isn't that way. It is the blessing from God.
So, again, when a storm is approaching, should we stand in the yard and rebuke Hasatan, or should we on our face saying, Father, what are you doing in the storm? I'm thinking of Nahum 1:3 that says that Yah has his way in the whirlwind and the storm and the clouds of the dust of his feet. So I just understand personally that when a storm of this magnitude, or any storm for that matter, when it's approaching, he has something in mind, that he's not just turned Hasatan loose to wreak havoc on us. Which way should we approach this?
Well, I think Job is a very good book to study to understand trauma.
Okay.
Job, it clearly says that he was perfect in all of his ways, that he was a righteous man. And then the next thing you have is God allowing Job to go through much trauma. And we have a whole lot of doctrines that we've created in our Christian upbringing that are contrary to those stories that are given to us in Job. However, they seem to match the stories of Job's three friends. What we want to do is we want to feel secure and protected by God. And so our way of developing a protection around ourselves is to assume that God is always going to bless us because we're good and we're righteous and we do the right things.
Okay.
The truth of the matter is that yes, God is always going to bless you, but there's going to be numerous times you're not going to recognize it. You know, it is a blessing of God to the people who are down in Florida right now, who are out helping others, because what happens is tragedy brings out who the true people are. Are you out looting or are you out blessing the others? And so what happens is the ones who are out blessing are the ones who are raising to the top, like the cream, so to speak, where it's seen that what they have is truth. The ones who are out looting, it's showing their character at its worst. And so the storm isn't the issue. The issue is the character of the person who is living through the storm, and that the glory of God is shown through them. So that's what we should be looking at, not the initial tragedy.
All right. Well, Frank, we got maybe a couple minutes here. Let me ask a following question. Is there a way to discern, again, when a natural disaster is either taking place or approaching us, to discern whether this is just natural phenomena of weather that takes place on the earth, or is this the hand of our Creator in judgment against a certain area or nation or city?
Well, you opened up another one there.
You got 2 minutes.
If we take the response that it's judgment, let's just say, then we need to equally apply that judgment. Judgment is, you know, like I said, the hand of God can be the blessing to one and the judgment of others, and it be the same act. And
Wow.
so
Okay.
the more that we try to discern judgment, what we're trying to do is define ourselves as righteous, and we're trying to look at the others. So I heard one the other day that a very liberal person, and I'm not trying to put liberal against conservative here. I consider myself to be both liberal and conservative. But anyway, a very liberal political person started talking about how these storms were a judgment on the United States because of their election of Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've heard conservative people say that this is a judgment on the United States because of the immorality that you find on the people. Well, you know, the judgment on the United States is coming on both, right? And I'm not trying to say that the Trump side is the moral. I'm just trying to make the statement that we have this polarization that's going on that is not relevant to anything. We are picking sides. What we need to be doing is saying, what would God have me do in this circumstance? How should I properly respond? And so it's looking at ourselves, at the Torah we claim to follow, and having it guide us into righteous behavior. That's what we should be looking at. That's what the judgment is. He is separating the righteous from the unrighteous because of our behavior is the proper response if we are righteous.
Well answered, Frank. Well, we're just about out of time. Thank you for your time and attention to this Midrash. If you have questions or comments, you can send them to reunionroadmap@b'nai-yosef.na.com. And so until next week, thank you very much, and shalom.